All right. All right. So first off, One Up MMA and No Filter. That's BJ. We want to thank you for joining us and giving us your time. We appreciate it very much.
My pleasure, brother, man. Anytime.
How you doing today, Eryk?
Man, I'm doing awesome, man. We just got off the road, about a 3.5 hour drive from Birmingham to Memphis. So, we're it's time to just chill, maybe have a beer or two and relax.
Gotcha. So your last fight was against Gerald Meerschaert in October, and Carl Robertson, as you know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, he beat Roman Kopylov, and he called you out. Is that who you're looking to face next?
Man, 2 people have called me out. I don't know when I'm going to get back in there. So, if he wants to wait on me, cool. If not, then, it is what it is. He's a young, up-and-coming guy, so I'm sure we'll cross paths at some point. So whether it's the next one, the fight after that, or, whenever we fight, I'll be ready.
Gotcha. So what weight class do you like the most, light heavyweight or middleweight for you?
They have their pros and cons. 205 is obviously super easy to make for me.
Mm-hmm.
185, I have to be a little bit more disciplined with my life. Not just dietary stuff, but like I have to run more. I have to do a lot more stuff to make the weight. So I like 85 because I have to do all those things. My mind is always on the fight. At 205, as soon as practice is over, I can go, eat a cheeseburger or some fries or whatever and be straight. So, and the guys at 85 are way smaller than they are at 205. So, they're a lot less durable. They can't take as much. I feel like I'm one of the more powerful guys in the division. So, I prefer 85. It just takes a little bit more discipline to get there.
Okay, good stuff. What's been your favorite fight of your career so far in the UFC?
Man, to be honest, I think the Thiago Santos fight was my favorite just because, we both kind of met there in the middle and, swung away. And
Right.
Not like a good old-fashioned
brawl. That was a good fight.
Kind of like, I wouldn't say like technique went out the window because there was a lot of like grappling and wrestling and stuff like that. But when we were standing there, I think we were both swinging for the fences. And I think that's something that the fans enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know as far as for my career, that's, did wonders for my career. I think even in a loss, with all the circumstances regarding the fight and how I fought and how the fight went,
right.
I think my stock really went up with that fight.
Yeah, because you took that fight, 6-7 days notice?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So, that's a hell of an impressive, fight for somebody to take that fight on 1 week notice. And then you see Santos go and fight Jones like he did and put up that performance.
Yeah.
That makes you look good too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and outside of John Jones, the other guys he's fought at 205, I go out on a limb to say that my fight was more, action-packed, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
He just went out there and knocked out the other 2 guys on the way to fight John Jones, and it took him a while to get me out of there. So
yeah, you definitely gave him a competitive fight, bro. All right, Taylor, your turn.
All right, my questions are more about football. I want to know what Coach Saban's like, because all I see is the media. He doesn't give them too much. I want to know what he's like in the locker room.
Man, it really depends what time of day you catch him. We had meetings every day. We had meetings every day at 2:00. So, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, his coach's hat comes on. You catch him any other time. He's just like one of the guys. He likes to, talk trash, crack jokes, and that's usually how he starts every meeting off. So, he's got a pretty quick wit.
Dude, that's awesome. I love Alabama all day. I'm from Mississippi originally, and I never caught on to Mississippi State or Ole Miss. It's always been Alabama. Dude, that 2009 team, Julio Jones, Eric Anders, fucking Eddie Lacy, Mark Ingram, Rolando McClain. Dude, that team was stacked.
Yeah, it's probably the best team that they'd have had, if I do say so myself.
Oh, yeah. No, how does it feel to get the game-sealing strip sack fumble?
Man, it's a pretty surreal experience, man. I quite, it's been 10 years, and
Yeah.
I still haven't quite found the words to express how it feels to, have a big time play in a big time game like that. So,
Yeah.
it was for sure a very memorable moment.
Yeah, I watched that. I was just looking up your highlights today, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. So dude, at that time, I didn't know who you were, and then you got into fighting. I was like, oh, he's on the 2009 team, dude. Legendary, 13-0. Was
That's
up.
right. 14-0, I think.
Oh yeah, 14-0.
14,
Yeah,
14-0. That's right.
for the playoff and all that. Yeah, 13 regular and the championship. Dude, yeah, that's awesome. Congrats, man. How does it feel to be a national champion for Alabama?
Man, I think that one was a little bit more special because I was one that kind of started the dynasty that you see now.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I feel like we're the team that kind of got the ball rolling in that direction.
Yeah. So how do you recognize more, as a football player or as a fighter?
At this point, a fighter, just because it's been so long since I played football, and then
Yeah.
when I did, like I had an afro, I had a helmet on, so unless they heard my name, like they don't, know my face. But since I started fighting, and since I made it to the big show, they recognize me a lot more, based on the way I look.
You were on John Anik and Kenny Florian's podcast a few years back, and they brought that up that you were 2009 on the Alabama team. It's like, oh shit, okay. And then I started watching a couple of your fights. Like, oh no, this dude, like, you guys have no idea the level of athlete this kid is. Like, it's a different dedication when you play at the top of the game in college, especially for Alabama. It's a different intensity that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, it's certainly a different ball game, but John Adams, my man, he likes to put in the parlays just like I do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll go back and forth on that every now and again.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's all I got. I just want to know what it was like to be in college and play for Nick Saban and start that dynasty that got him from 1 to 6.
Man, it's a pretty memorable, 4 or 5 years that I spent down there in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, oh, dude, that's awesome. All right, BJ, you're up, man. I'm good, dude. I'm just fanboying over here, dude. It's Eryk, man. Dude, you don't get this opportunity every day. It's fantastic.
All right, man. Hey, how you doing, man? It's always an honor to talk to fighters that we watch on TV. And we're just doing our thing over here, man. We appreciate you coming on for sure. Like, we were fanboying right before we started this interview. So don't us being all calm and cool on this interview. Don't let it fool you, because we was 100% fanboying about 10 minutes ago.
Can't never let them see you sweat, man.
My question, you know what I'm saying, and I just want to see what your response would be. The transition from football to MMA, and you have a pretty decorated career so far. I was just taking a peek at your record before this interview. I mean, you fought in multiple organizations. You fought in the 2 top organizations, Bellator and the UFC. What was that transition like, and did you think you would come this far when you made that transition?
Man, I really got into MMA just looking to work out after I got done playing football, just blow off some steam and start training. And then I crossed paths with Walt Harris, sparred with him like my first day in the gym. And, needless to say, he was already a polished striker, a polished boxer, and already a pro MMA fighter. And needless to say, he had beat me up, And I fell in love with it right then and there. I said, this is something that I'm going to have to, learn several different disciplines. It was just what I was looking for, something new, something to train, and something that I knew I could take it to the top when I made the decision to do so. So, I had a pretty extensive amateur career. I've had like 24 amateur fights. And then early in my pro career, I met my wife, and she's into nutrition and stuff, and then,
oh yeah, that was good, man. You got lucky, man. She
making 85 became super easy because she taught me how to do it essentially. And then she was just kind of like, you need to quit your job. You're already, I think I was like 27, 28. She's like, you're not a spring chicken anymore, so you need to give it 2 years. You can always go back and work, So I was like, cool. quit my job, started working at the gym, and then teaching, doing that thing, and man, my career just accelerated, exponentially. Like I had a rocket on it, and just we're just trying to go in one direction.
Yeah, absolutely, man, for sure, for sure. Okay, so college football. I mean, college football has a lot of eyes on college football, and I'm pretty sure preparing at practice these games. There's a lot of discipline that is involved in that. How did that translate? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure it didn't. I'm sure it helped. With your wife knowing. As far as the nutritional side, she can teach you. But how did the discipline, of training for the sport and putting your body through that and cutting weight, how did the discipline from football help you transition into that?
Man, I think it teaches you how to practice.
Yeah.
You have to be able, man. You can't just show up to the game. You can't just show up to the fight. At least I'm not that high level that I can, just wake up and show up and, knock people out. Like I trained really hard, so it kind of teaches you the discipline of like perfect practice instead of just kind of going through the motions and, having lackadaisical practice, because all that stuff transfers into the fight of the game. Maybe down the first quarter, the second quarter, the first round, the second round, but by the time the end of the competition, it'll really show, because as you get tired, as you get hit, your technique starts to, falter a little bit. So, I think if your technique's the last thing to falter, then, the better your chances of winning the fight, because you're still going to be there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So tell us, man, like, what was the biggest differences that you noticed between, because like I said, you fought at the top you fought in the top two promotions, Bellator and UFC. So what were the biggest differences? Because there's always going to be those comparisons between Bellator and UFC, the fighters, the champions, whatever. What was the biggest difference for you?
Between Bellator and the UFC?
Yes, sir.
Production value. The UFC, it's like, man, if you're the first fight, they're telling you you're fighting at 5:35. You're walking out to the cage at 5:35. If you're the last fight, you're walking out at 11:30 or whatever. They really have it timed out. With Bellator, it was like they didn't have, like, they knew when the TV part was going to be on, but there was still a whole undercard before the part that was on TV, and then the fighters who didn't fight in the undercard fought after the main card. So there were guys who were getting ready to warm up because they didn't know if they were going to fight before the main card. And then so they get all warmed up. Boom, main card. So now, it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and they still got like 5 fights left. So
yeah.
The way it was run, at least on that night, I don't know if that's how Bellator always does it, but at least on that night, people were like, I don't know when I'm gonna fight. But the UFC, man, you're gonna be within 5 minutes of when they tell you you're gonna walk out.
Yeah.
As a fighter, getting prepared is cool, because you're like, all right, I want to have this done like an hour before I go out. I want to start warming up like 30 minutes before I go out. I want to be ready to go, catch my breath, take a break, 10 minutes before I go out. There's always somebody constantly coming in the room. Hey, you walk in 5 minutes. Hey, you walk in 10 minutes or whatever,
Yeah. And for my last question, my last statement that I kind of just want to get your response to, coming from that football background and being a name in football, even though you weren't in the NFL, you still were known. People know who you are. You're going to get those comparisons to Greg Hardy, you know what I'm saying? But, looking at what you've done, looking at, your history in the UFC and looking at Greg Hardy's history in the UFC, there's a little more amateurness to what Greg Hardy's over here doing, and you keep it very professional. Like most people wouldn't even know that you used to be a football player, you know what I'm saying? Because you're such a good fighter, how does it feel when you see those things that Greg Hardy does, like throw an illegal shot in the fight with Alan Crowder, or use the inhaler in between the rounds? You know what I'm saying? Is it kind of like a cringe moment for you?
I mean, you have to understand, man, that dude's still learning the game. I don't know what his amateur career looked like, but I seriously doubt he had much of one. Who's going to fight a Pro Bowler?
Yeah.
Nobody. Not for free. Somebody
Right.
will take that risk for a check,
Yeah.
But then so that dude was in the UFC after like 4 fights and not much of an amateur career and zero background in combative martial arts, previous. So Greg Hardy's learning on the job, That knee he threw to Alan Crowder, I was watching that fight, and it just looked like he was like in kill mode, like he really wasn't thinking through the fight. He was like, "There's his face, bow."
Yeah.
And I think the more experience you get, things start to slow down, and then you realize, oh, that's an illegal shot. I can't do that. Maybe I throw a punch, or maybe I wait for him to get up. So and with the inhaler. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that the commissioner should have just said no. I don't think his corner should have gave it to him because man, I don't think that that's a question that is really a question, man. No, you can't use an inhaler in between. Everybody has asthma. If that was the case, everybody would have sports-induced asthma, So
Yes, sir.
Like I said, man, my man, he's still young. I think he's had 6 fights now. Even if he had an extensive amateur career, 6, 7 fights, and that's still young. I think I had 8 fights before I made it to the UFC. So, I had more fight experience. I was, I had done it before,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
3rd, 4th, you don't see that too often, especially in the men's division. You see some women with 2 or 3 fights and they make it to the show, but that's a numbers game. The guys, who does, anybody who fights, who doesn't want to make a living, fighting in the UFC, man. So, like I said, he's on the job training and on the job learning. So I wouldn't, I would take it with a grain of salt, man. He's going to be all right, man. He's a phenomenal athlete, certainly in that, 99% percentile in terms of athlete, especially for a heavyweight. So just give him some time, man. He probably shouldn't have fought that Volkov dude. You got 7 fights yourself and you're fighting guys with similar records. Why you want to go fight a dude? And I get it, man. I get it. No, of course he's not going to say no, but it is what it is, man. Give the man some time and I'm sure he'll be a force to reckon with.
And this is truly my last thing. This is truly my last thing. How does it feel when Bruce Buffer says your boy Eryk Anders? You gotta let us know, man, because I don't know if you know it, but that's kind of a thing, man, in the MMA fan community. We're amateur journalists, you can say. You know what I'm saying? Austin and Taylor write articles. I have a podcast. You know what I'm saying? So, but everywhere you go before one of your fights, everybody's like, I'm just excited to hear Bruce Buffer say your boy Eryk Anders.
Yeah, it's man, I think it's one of like the more like clever, authentic nicknames in the sport. It's you hear a lot of guys like the Assassin or something that like more than one person has. But your boy, man, it's almost patented. Can't nobody else have that. That's mine. And so. Man, it's just cool to be the one and only, and for the name, not just my fighting style. I know a lot of people like the way I fight as well, but when Bruce Buffer or Joe Martinez get on the mic and yell that out, you already know it's like a brand. You know what you're getting when I fight. That just kind of sparked things off.
Yes, sir. Hey, much respect, man. I'm gonna throw it back to Austin, bro. Thank you once again for coming on, man. Yes, sir.
My pleasure.
All right, Eryk. Touching on what Taylor was talking about, I know you've touched on this recently in a couple other interviews. What Bama teammates from that 2009 team do you think would have a lot of success in MMA?
Man, I get this question more often than you would think, and I think it's just because people know the caliber of athletes that Alabama's recruiting and the guys that they're playing with. But man, I think that Julio Jones and Mark Ingram, or Julio Jones and Mark Barron. Some of the guys that I play with that I think that would make the best. Like Mark Barron never played a down, a safety ever in high school. He was a linebacker and a running back, and he finishes as an All-American, at Bama. So he's just like in the 99.9 percentile of athletes, and he can learn anything,
Right.
know. So, those guys, and then Julio Jones, you see him play on Sunday, and it damn near looks like an MMA fight. So he's just like super physical and kind of likes the contact. So, those are two guys that I think that anybody stepping in front of them, better be on their P's and Q's, because I would imagine that those two can generate some power and, definitely learn the technique to go behind it.
Gotcha. Yeah, because me and my buddy Joseph.
You generate power, bro. You generate power, bro. You generate the power.
Yeah.
Man, listen, y'all, man, there's levels to this. Y'all think I'm an athlete. I'm nowhere near the athlete compared to those two. So you see what I do, just imagine. And those dudes are like long and lean. So I would imagine Julio would be an 85 or a 205, and probably the same with Mark Barron. So I'd hate to fight one of those two.
I don't know, man.
Especially if they knew what they were doing.
Mark Ingram ready to throw hands over Lamar Jackson not being MVP. And that boy ready.
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope. Julio Jones, I wouldn't expect him to be that. I mean, he's fantastic, but to translate over, that's crazy because he is super athletic. Watching him play wide receiver is an experience.
Man, and you can tell by somebody's vertical, like how explosive they are, and that dude can jump out the building. And so, like, turning his hips over on punches and kicks, I'm sure would be no problem for him.
We got to get Julio win this. We got to get him after this.
Man, Julio just signed a contract with 95% of his money is guaranteed. It's safe to say if he's not going to make that transition to MMA.
That's interesting stuff because me and my buddy Joseph, he's a big Bama fan. I mean, his dad went to Alabama. He's from there. And we always talk about, because he's more of a casual MMA fan, but we always talk about, like, what would happen if those caliber of athletes would transition over to MMA? What would they look like? So, I mean, it's really interesting seeing you in there. I mean, and you kind of downplay yourself, but you are a hell of an athlete, especially for MMA terms.
I'm just letting y'all know, like, me compared to them is, it's not the same. It's like, a Ferrari racing a Camry. It's crazy.
All right. So I want to switch gears to kind of a more serious note. I know you probably know the news about Anaya, Walt Harris's stepdaughter. What's your thoughts on that whole situation?
It's one of those things where, it could have been prevented, to be honest. The guy's out on bail for, kidnapping and attempted murder already. How is that a thing?
Right.
I understand everybody gets their time in court and it's until proven guilty, but they didn't arrest him without evidence to begin with, So, I think in cases like that, the case needs to be resolved before these people are out, walking around on the street and whatnot. If he's found innocent, then, you gotta let him out. But if he's guilty, it didn't give him the opportunity to do that. And another thing, somebody saw the abduction happen.
Right, exactly.
Went home to his old lady, and she said, "Don't be getting in other people's business." Now, I'm all for, not snitching or nothing like that. But like, if I see someone get in a fight, like, I'm probably not gonna break it up. I'm just gonna watch. But if I see somebody getting shoved into a car, I may not go intervene. But I'm gonna get the license plate number. Call 911, let the police handle it.
Exactly.
So, I'm sure, it's an extremely, extremely frustrating situation for Walt and them. I haven't talked to him since the news broke. As I'm sure you can imagine, his phone is probably blowing up, and he's got a lot of things on his mind right now. So, our condolences go out to him and his family.
Yeah. Be sure whenever you do talk to him, give him our condolences as well. You know, we're deeply saddened by the whole situation, and it's crazy because, I mean, no disrespect to Walt Harris, but like a lot of people at my work, they don't follow MMA much, and then they see this stuff on the news, and I have to explain to them who Walt Harris is. I was like, you know, they're messing with the wrong people, you know, doing stuff like that. It's just a sad situation. But
yeah, well, man, you know, I think they got it right this time. You know, the guy's bond was denied, so and I think that you know, the second person who was arrested, you know, probably gave some information that you know, led to the recovery of the body and whatnot. So,
right,
you know, like I said, you know, and that guy, he pled guilty to murder like 3 years ago and got out in 3 years. You know,
sad.
He pled guilty to first-degree murder, and then, you know, I know people who were in jail behind drugs. And,
exactly.
You know, they do much longer than that.
Yeah. I've always said I think real justice for those types of people, man. Just lock them in a room, handcuff them, let Walt Harris get his hands on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you saw how his eye was looking already when he got arrested. So
yeah. It looked like he got bombed.
Hey, I got a quick one. Man. Just to kind of change the flow of it, man. I gotta ask you, dude. What are your thoughts on John Jones versus Dominic Reyes?
Man, I think somebody. It's gonna be really difficult to beat John Jones. He's got all the attributes, you know, and he's got the skill behind it. Like, he's super unorthodox. I think it's gonna be somebody like Corey Anderson, somebody who nobody respects for real, to be the guy to beat John Jones. You know, 'cause he can wrestle. I think you have to be able to wrestle to beat John Jones. His reach is too long. He utilizes his range too well. It's too hard to hit him. So you got to be able to wrestle. And as soon as you do get going, he throws one of those oblique kicks, or, you know, kind of disrupts your rhythm. So I think you have to get in and make it ugly and outgrind John Jones. Easier said than done.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
That comes straight from your boy. That's what's up. Word. That's all I got, man. I'm done.
Eryk, I watched you do an interview with The Score. I think it was about 4 or 5 months ago, and you touched on, after your Khalil Roundtree loss, you touched on the hypnotism thing. Are you still doing that?
Yeah. I still meet with Dom. Man, he's just a good person to have around, man. You know, he kind of just keeps the mind clear, keeps me focused, and, you know, keep chopping that wood, you know, if you will. So, you know, it's probably not for everybody, but, you know, I like it. I think it works, and it's been very beneficial in my career. I think I'm 2-0, you know, on 2-fight win streak since working with him. So, you know, I can't say it's not working.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people sleep on the fact that MMA isn't as much mentality as it is physicality.
Oh, absolutely.
It's definitely there's a lot of mental preparation to go into fighting.
Oh, absolutely, man. Just think about, you know, you're gonna get in a fight, and for me, like the weeks leading up to the fight is.
Uh-oh.
Eryk, I think you're cutting out a little bit, man. Can y'all hear him?
No.
Eryk, I think your mic cut out on us a little bit.
Mine did.
Yeah, there you go. I can hear you now.
We can hear you now, man.
Yeah, we got you. Can you hear us?
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
My wife started the car, so I think the Bluetooth picked up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we missed everything you just said about the mentality.
What was the question?
Oh, I just said something about how people sleep on the fact that, you know, fighting is very mental. You know, it's a mental game.
I just said, like, you know, there's a lot of mental preparation that goes into the fight as well as the physical. And then even when the fight starts, you know, sometimes, because you're both going to be big, you're both going to be strong, you know. So if the attributes are the same, then what's the difference?
Right.
You know, what makes you better than the other guy?
Who's got more willpower? Yeah.
That's right.
All right, last question for you. what's your dream fight in the UFC?
You know, whoever's got the belt. You know,
Oh.
you know, just being like honest and realistic with myself, man. I'm probably not ready for a title fight now.
You're getting
You know,
there.
85. That top 5 is Murderer's Row. You know, you got Paulo Costa, you got Romero, Adesanya, Gastelum, and you got a lot of you know really talented guys in that division. So, you know, I think a few more fights under my belt, a few more years of experience and whatnot, and you know, I'll be ready. But at the moment,
you're definitely getting
I
there.
don't think I'm there yet.
I got one more question. What is your Super Bowl matchup, and who do you think wins?
Super Bowl matchup.
You.
Man, you know, I really don't watch NFL too much, but you know, I think I just like to see some Bama guys who don't have rings get it, like maybe Eddie Jackson with Chicago. I think that maybe they could do it. Let's see. I don't think Bama's got any quarterbacks starting.
No, AJ McCarron was the best they had, and he's a backup.
Yeah. Man, I don't know, man, but it'd be cool to see. You know, I was actually kind of pulling for Mark Barron with LA last year, but
Oh yeah,
man, it's tough to edge out the Patriots. I think the Patriots play. They, you know,
yeah.
what is Tom Brady, like 7 of 9, 6 of 8, or something like that?
Yeah. Six and three, right?
He's 6 and 3.
Man, that's all right. That's an all right Super Bowl record.
That's not bad. All right, yeah. So I want to see Mark Ingram get a ring. If it's not going to be New Orleans, I'd like to see Mark Ingram get his.
Yeah, didn't he not get a ring in New Orleans?
No. It was before him.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He came in that draft.
Ravens got a real shot.
He's got a good chance this year. Lamar Jackson, they're killing it all around, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I saw a picture. They had 3 Heisman winners in the backfield at the same time.
Heisman package, yeah.
I said, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
And I think RG3 is kind of like a non-factor, to be honest. But Mark Ingram and Lamar Jackson,
that's a duel.
They're killing it right now.
Yeah, they're savages. All right, cool. That's all. I'm good, man.
Well, Eryk, your boy Anders, I think that's all we got for you, my man.
All right, man. Hey, anytime, y'all just give me a call.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate it.
Sir, man.
Great.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Man.
All right, you have a good one, my bro.
All right. Take care.
You too.